looking. He's going to heave one deep down the field. It's going to be to the goal line. It's going to be gone. It's a touchdown. And the Gators have won this.
Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another side of High Top Sports in the studio with my main man, Steven Chad. What's going on, big dog? How you doing?
Big boy, how are you doing? You look awful spruced up today. How you feeling today?
I'm looking sharp. I've got a baby photo shoot here that I'm going to go do here in just a minute after we shoot live. But we've got some Gator football to go over. We got some SEC football to go over. We've got the AP poll to go over. We got a lot of news to break down after this crazy Saturday that we just had, and that rolled into Sunday. We'll talk about a little bit of NFL. The Jaguars disappoint again, which is very frustrating to see. But we got to break down Florida. Florida had a great game today in some areas still need improvement. But as a Florida fan, you should be jazzed up for what we saw. So we'll go over that. We'll go over the second team, and we'll break it all down. But I'm excited for what's to come. I'm excited for the show today, and I'm excited again for what Florida put on the field today and for that Mizzou game we've got coming up here in the week. But before we get into that, let's say hey to the chat, and then we'll get this bad boy rolling. Kevin McCurley, what's going on, baby? Go Gators. Caitlin, what's up, baby? Dominic, let's go, baby. Scott 020 Muddy says, my Jags just gave the game to the Eagles. They sure did. I was just cussing at the TV screen before I walked in here. I was very frustrated. Christian David, what's going on, man? How we doing? Welcome to the stream, big dog. And that's all we got for now. So we'll catch back later and see how everybody's doing. But first things first, obviously we got to break down the game that we just witnessed here about 3 hours ago. Florida versus East Washington University. First off, their 5'9" quarterback can sling it from Eastern Washington. My goodness, that guy can sling the football. He was tearing us up and down the football field today. I think first team, once they kind of got they're comfortable, they looked good. AR was exciting to watch today. That's the AR that we know and love. That's the AR that I think we remember from last year, coming in late in the game, just being explosive, just slinging some darts. I get it. It's very easy to say, like, it's a crappy team and it's Eastern Washington. I understand that, but let's pay attention to the details, right? I mean, of course, he had all day because the O-line is that much better. I totally get all these things. But again, guys are running the routes. I mean, it wasn't like they were blown coverages. I mean, he was throwing good passes, good like 60 to 70-yard passes, which to me is very, very encouraging, as well as Jalen Kitna. The guy was slinging the football. And I loved it. You could tell, like, I mean, typically you would see when you start blowing a team out, the winning team, you start to run the ball. Florida had a different game plan. Like, we're out here to get guys figured out. Like, the scoreboard doesn't matter. We're not here to blow you out. This is meaningful for us too. We've got to get this dialed in. And so we're playing football the entire time, which I enjoyed watching. Lorenzo Ligard got a touchdown. Give it up for the boy there.
Let's go, baby. A
big run. It's like a good 15 touchdown run. Now, here's what I saw. Here's what I saw. I know it was later in the game. Eastern Washington's a little tired. Totally get that. But here's what I saw. It's the difference from Montrell, Naquan, Trevor, and Lorenzo isn't this wide range that like Etienne and Montrell are that much better than Lorenzo. I think they are a little bit better, but Lorenzo looked good. I think it's simply the fact that these are my guys that I'm going to have for the next 2 to 3 years. It's almost as if Lorenzo is just a day late and a dollar short, and it sucks. Like, it's just wrong place, wrong time. Injuries got in the way, and he wasn't able to get it done. But I mean, the kid's good. I mean, the kid looked explosive. He did not want to come off the field, which I loved. And it's just like, hey, look, do I take the time to put this guy in where he's not going to give us that much more of an advantage, or do I invest in these younger guys where sure they might have some errors where they're going to struggle, but I know that they're going to be caught up pretty quickly, and I think that's what it is. And look, it sucks for Lorenzo. But it's business. It's kind of where we're at. Is what it seemed like.
Yeah, look, we talked about it a little bit when in the preseason where Billy was moving from Louisiana to Florida, but he was also bringing a running back with him who understood his offense, who understood his blocking schemes. Mm-hmm. I know that sounds silly, but those are the little things that it takes for a running back to be completely functional in your offense. But so he had an inherent guy that he thought was going to be his transitional running back into his system.
For sure.
look, it's easy to say that like these other guys, are outplaying Lorenzo, but look, you give the guy a shot. Even against the FSU game last year, he made a tackle, on special teams. He'll do whatever you want him to do. Like
Sure.
we're both huge Lorenzo fans here. So, but the fact that he was able to get out there, get an opportunity, and then show it is great.
Agreed. And I loved it.
I can't be happier for the kid. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was freaking out, bro. We were already up, and I was so pumped to see it. I even tweeted, I said, it's my top Gator moment of the year. Because, again, it's more of just a personal connection with the kid. You know that he's been grinding, and he ran hard all game. I mean, he had his opportunity, and he took it. Caitlin, when he was in, she was like, you look more stressed during this game than, like, other games. I was like, yeah, because I want Lorenzo to get the ball.
I want Zoe
I want the kid
out.
to eat. Yeah, like, let this kid eat. So it was good to see that. But here's the two takeaways, my two big takeaways, and we'll kind of break down the two. Florida's offense, if you're a Gator fan, you should be ecstatic. Again, I know it's Eastern Washington. Let's take that away. I don't care about that because the point is the play calling looked good. Everybody looked comfortable. There was great passes made. And here's the thing. Kitna made some mistakes. In the press conference, they're like, hey, are you going to sleep better knowing that you have some great backup? And he goes, I think we've learned our lessons. We shouldn't be doing this. Like, let's not be crowning these kids too soon because Kitna did make some poor decisions. He really did. He had a rollout play where he should have thrown it sooner to Etienne on a 4th and 2. And also Trevor made an error as well, too, where instead of going north and south, he tried to make a play. No, just get the 2 yards, right? But if Kitna would have just tossed it a little bit sooner, that probably wouldn't have been there. But it almost like he was trying to be a playmaker versus just, hey, just get the 2 yards. I don't need you to be a playmaker right now.
Right.
Anthony looked very comfortable. He looked like he was having fun. Shorter stepped up, made some great plays. Zipper starting to get more involved with the offense. These were the things that I spoke to. Yeah, when I spoke to FSU.
Pick that kid earlier.
Yeah. When I spoke about FSU with 4 starting off early, right, with those lesser end teams, it's good for the confidence building. And I think, honestly, even though you lost to Wake Forest, I think that game was much closer than it would have been if it was earlier in the season. I really do. The first 4 games, you guys had to be able to build that and get the guys confidence and comfortable. It showed against Wake Forest. I think, honestly, in Wake Forest, you got out-coached. I think that Wake Forest coaching and their system is just so well put together.
Agreed.
That they're so underrated for the fact that they're not higher ranked is crazy to me. It's just because they're not flashy football, but they've got a phenomenal just system. Do I think they can get it done?
It's ridiculously good. I mean, they run a 3-3-5 offense or a defense, but they still crowd the box. It took everything that FSU does well away. Like there was no RPO game, at least, and if they were trying to protect Travis, it looked like that might be the case. But the RPO game with Travis keeping and sweeping, he had opportunities. It just looked like they were trying to. But to Wake Forest credit, again, I will not take anything away. That I even said it early in the Discord in the first quarter. This is the most frustrating offense ever to try to play against because you don't know what to do.
It's hard to prepare for that. You sit there for 5
seconds trying to figure it out. Right? Exactly. Yeah. It's very difficult. And there's no offense to scheme against. Like you know what I mean? Like it's almost like the Georgia Tech wishbone that they ran under Paul Johnson. You don't play another team like that.
Sure.
Great game by Wake Forest.
We'll get into that too. I want to kind of keep the segments. I led into that, so that was my fault. But offensively, the quarterback room is good. I mean, because Jack Miller didn't even play. So there's Jack Miller, Kitna, Marcus Stokes is coming in next year. Look, AR leaving or not, it's going to be up for grabs. I really think that him staying is becoming more and more likely. So that's great. Again, the running back room looks just full of talent, which is exciting.
Stacked.
The wide receivers, I can't think of the gentleman's name that Kitna was balling out to. Douglas, Payday Douglas. He had some great plays, and he's made some huge progress as well. I didn't see Arlos Birdingham, who's our tight end, our big recruit that we got this year. I didn't see him out there. I know he's been dealing with some injuries. I was hoping to see him play. Jaquavion Frazier's obviously, that was kind of like my dark knight. He's still growing. So, or then we're getting obviously the Aiden Mazzels and those guys coming in from this coming season. So that area is going to get a little bit better. But the O-line, Rob Sell and the O-line is doing a phenomenal job. I think that if we can't pull more recruits for the O-line, I'm going to be shocked because that looked phenomenal. Defensively was where my biggest concern was. Kamari Wilson looked good. I mean, he had some, some growing pains that he had to go through, but the guy's a hitter. The guy's a stud. Love seeing him out there. DeJuan Black played for a little bit. We talked about earlier in the week he was left off, but apparently it was unintentional. He wasn't meant to be left off. He got some playing time. Then he got hurt. When I was watching him play, I wasn't really impressed. The few times that he did play, it was almost like he kind of quit early, and that's probably what they're seeing in practice is why the guy's not kind of getting the starts. Britton Cox made some good plays early. The D-line obviously that's where the depth you can kind of see go away a little bit. The DBs got torn up. They got torched. That's a big point of emphasis, I think, with this coming season and next year that we've got to focus on. And honestly, to me, it's starting to look more like the play calling. The play calling on defense is very vanilla. It's very preventative defense, which if your players aren't there, it's just we're getting torn up with 5 and 6 yard plays. And it's just that was kind of where I was getting frustrated and then when we would go for the home run, it was at the wrong time. And again, it's starting more like a Patrick Toney situation. Now, there was some blown coverages and bad tackles from the DBs and cornerbacks. That was a part of it too, which obviously those things kind of add up. But right now, the defense seems to me like it's kind of a mess. And could it be because Billy is, co-calling with Rob Sell on the offensive side that he's not able to focus on the defensive side as much? I don't know. We'll see. We've got to get ready for Mizzou. Obviously, we saw what Mizzou did with Georgia, which we're gonna break down the Mizzou versus Georgia game here in a little bit. I have some hot thoughts on that, but I think the Mizzou game is going to be exciting. I'm actually excited to get back to the SEC play and put us up against the wall here, and we'll break obviously that down more come Wednesday. But this made me feel really good. Again, I know we anticipated a win. For us to put up 52 points, I was really impressed with that. We put them up quickly. We had 35 going into halftime, which was exciting. I think we could have put up a lot more with the starting guys in play. So, look, we should be doing that. We should expect to do that, obviously. But when you're really starting to break down the X's and O's and the player development, you're looking for smaller things, and those things to me checked off. Go ahead, Steve.
No, so the one thing I will say, you beat them. You beat them. That was a great win. I think the more important focus of this game should be the fact that you haven't had a game yet. You're on your 5th game of the year.
Yeah,
you haven't had a game to be loose.
Sure.
To play. Your second string, your backups.
To take some bombs down the field. Mm-hmm.
Right. Just play with some fluidity and be a little bit more risk tolerant. Like just chuck it. Who cares, right? I mean, we feel confident that we're going to win this game. You haven't had that. I mean, the gauntlet of Utah, Kentucky, even USF came out and in the first quarter, you realize that's going to be a bit of a slugfest, right?
Sure.
So these games haven't given you the opportunity to have one of those directional schools that you get out there and just kind of go through almost a simulated practice.
Sure.
So this was finally your opportunity to get out there, run through your plays, run through your motions, just be able to see what your depth can do. Get some guys in there in situational opportunities. You guys haven't had that. This is a big game. I think a lot bigger than what the score was. Everybody knew that you were going to beat Eastern Washington, but this is an opportunity that Florida hasn't had up to now to be able to get out there and just play a little bit loose and a little bit fluid. You've had to honestly go nose to nose with every team up to now. So this is the way that most teams get an opportunity early in the season. It's good to see that Florida had that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I said, I think we should be excited to see what we saw. There are some areas of growth for sure. Anthony came out in the third quarter, started the third quarter, trying to throw another bomb into quadruple coverage that got picked off. And Billy spoke about it in the press conference after the fact, and he goes, "Look, I love it. I mean, it's good that he went out there and did that because it's a teaching moment." And
yep.
It's you kind of get a little bit too much BDE where you're just. I mean, when I saw, I'm like, you're just trying for too much. And again, I think it's good to kind of get taken back a little bit, even in these games where it's like you can't be that overly confident in it. You got to get knocked down a peg because he hits that throw. Now it's like I'm back on top of the world again. But so I'm on the sideline smiling, having a good time, and that was the biggest thing that Danny, his quarterback coach, talked about. Danny Thompson was talking about is like he just needs to have fun, right? And he hasn't had fun, and he was starting to have fun today. So the whole team had fun. I think everyone looked good. Again, defensively. That was my biggest concern, and it still is. It still is my concern. Mizzou kind of moved the ball pretty well against Georgia, and Georgia obviously is a great defensive team, and so that's something that we've got to keep an eye on. But what's exciting is offensively, we're more explosive than I think we've ever had. And if we can move the ball freely, and he went for it on 4th and down again. And some of the play calling on 4th and 2 and 4th and 1 I wasn't impressed with. But again, I think that's more to Kitna and just not making. those are the small things, the small details that people probably didn't pay attention to. Where it's like, look, that's on the quarterback, not necessarily the play call. That was on ETN, not running north and south. A lot of guys weren't running north and south. They were trying to make a play on 4th and 2. This isn't a make and play down. This is get to the pylon, right? It's north and south. Catch it, move forward. They're trying to plant and do a little do-si-do and break. Look, they break it, great, but it's higher risk, high reward type of situation. That's not the time and place. So. Again, I think we have to, as fans, as watching that, we have to be excited and appreciative of where we're at, and be excited on the second team and how well that second team did. And again, I know it's Eastern Washington. I'm not bragging about that. It's about the growth from player to player and coach to coach, and building this organization and what's to come for the coming years. I think if you're watching this and watching how much the process is becoming to believe in Billy, it's exciting to see.
Yeah, that was a huge opportunity, and I think Billy did a great job in the scenario. The other thing to keep in mind is this game was supposed to be played yesterday, obviously. It can be an easy distraction when you push a game to another day. And look, you pushed a game at home back one day. You played it in noon. It was going to be a noon game anyway, but there was just a lot of opportunity there for a team to come in unfocused. And I think Billy kept everybody where they needed to be for you guys, and just kept their focus high level and so on and so forth. Even look, let's be honest. I mean, I didn't see the game, but even the crowd could have been a little bit like less.
It was pretty packed out. Yeah, it was honestly for a Sunday game at noon against Eastern Washington. After what Florida's been through this past week with the hurricane, I was thoroughly impressed. It was more than a Miami game on a Saturday against Virginia Tech. I'm not even taking a shot
by the lowest common denominator here.
But still, I mean, I was really impressed. And look, a lot of Eastern Washington fans were there, which was kind of cool too. But real quick, we got a super chat from Ben Smith. He's very happy about the way we played today. Finally had some consistency with the offense. 2 games in a row. Don't write the Gators off yet, baby. We're gonna go over Wednesday of how can the Gators make the SEC championship. We're going to look. You always got to believe. You always got to keep it on the tabs. And look, FSU's in that same boat right now of how do we make the ACC? We were just talking about it, how all the teams that are going to basically win the ACC are all on one side. But with what's in front, Kentucky went down. So now they have 1 loss. We need Kentucky, obviously, to lose again. Tennessee needs to lose. We need to we have to win out. So there's obviously some things that need to happen. I know I'm getting way ahead of myself, but I think as a fan, you always want the best and you always expect for the best things to happen. And look, it's week to week. That's why you play the games. If you didn't play the games, they would just put whoever they want in. It wouldn't matter. But Mizzou is a prime reason that look, Georgia is beatable. Let's go to the dogs first before we go into the AP polls. Are you cool with that, Steve?
Let's go. We'll talk about it.
Daniel's here already talking some smack, which I love. So
What's up,
look,
Daniel?
here's what I saw. I watched the game because yesterday was crazy. LSU comes back from 17 down against Auburn. FSU game was balls to the wall to the into the wire. Who else played? Oh, the Arkansas game was somewhat hectic, and then it got out of hand pretty quickly.
LSU beat Auburn 21-17.
But they were losing 17-0.
Awful team. They looked awful, right? Everybody thought they were writing off Kelly and like, what are you doing with this team?
They have turned it around. I'm nervous.
They're 4-1. Their only losses to FSU.
Yeah, and that was a bad loss. That you go back and
won that game.
I promise you, 9 out of 10 times LSU wins that, and that's not a shot, but it's just now what we see now. I think LSU wins that game. I mean, outside of a missed botched extra point, who knows what would happen?
Well, I mean, it's also a botched toss, and FSU puts that game away. But
sure. Good point.
Also, Mississippi State boat raced
Texas A&M. Jimbo's on the hot seat. I mean, look,
for that much money, you have to be, right. You got to be on the hot seat. If you can't stay competitive against Mississippi State. I love Mississippi State. I love their coach.
Yeah, you're Mike Leach guy.
I have been the whole time. But I mean, Jimbo, baby, you're making $10 million a year, bro. You lost to App State, and then you got boat race against Mississippi State. That's a weird scenario.
It was mayhem. But here's what I saw from Georgia on Saturday. As much as I would love to sit here and roast Georgia, Georgia never panicked. Stetson Bennett never really panicked. It just looked like they were in control, even when they were losing. And that's where, look, you have to realize if you're a top dog team like Georgia, a game like this is always going to be in the looks. Now, Bama had it with Texas. If it happens again, that's where I would be concerned. I wouldn't count the Kent State game as ballsy either. But it's how do you get excited for a Mizzou game? Georgia's here to win championships right now. They're kind of ready to rock and roll. They knew they had control the entire time. Mizzou played too scared. They had an opportunity. I think it was like 4th and 2, and they kicked the field goals. Like you go for it here. You put them to bed. They just kept kicking field goals, trying to just keep it far enough, and they couldn't get it done. But Stetson Bennett, they were always in control. Look, if I'm a Georgia fan, I'm a little frustrated, but I wouldn't be too concerned. Again, as a championship style of team and a number 1 ranked team, or now a number 2. As much as I would want to roast them and talk smack, that's part of it. It's hard to get excited for games like this when you are the Shiz. And that's to me is kind of my takeaway from that.
Yeah, I mean, Florida came out flat against USF. And I think they get a punch in the head real fast when they realize don't dare look ahead to Tennessee.
Sure.
Don't dare look ahead on this game. They pulled it out. And I think it looks like Georgia just feels like with some of these. Okay, so here, let's go down the schedule for Georgia.
I was just pulling that up.
49-3 against Oregon. When they knew they had to come to play, they beat the dog snot out of Oregon. Samford, 33-0. All right, South Carolina conference game, 48-7. And it just feels like they got into coast mode, right? Because then it's Kent State, 39-22. Missouri, at Missouri. Who wants to go to Missouri? Like,
it's just
if you've ever said the name of the state to yourself, it sounds like misery. And there's a reason for that. So nobody ever wants to go to Missouri. 26-22. But then now they have an Auburn game. They have Vandy. They have Florida. Like, I hate to say that I'm giving Georgia a pass, but when the game is big, Georgia's big.
Yep, I agree. I think that's kind of what we have to recognize here as Florida. As much as we would love to sit here and roast them, and I wanted to, I had a thumbnail queued up. If Georgia goes down, I promise you, oh boy, I would have been here. We got a super chat real quick from North Florida White Trash. It says, FSU said, "Wake me up when September ends." That one's pretty good.
That's well done. I'll take 4-1.
No, it's not bad.
4-1 at the end of September. Yeah.
And then a super chat from Sean, $5 from Sean. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for the love and support today, for coming out and hanging out with us on this Sunday afternoon. But yeah, if you're a Georgia fan, I wouldn't be too concerned. It is what it is. When was the last time Tennessee has won something? It's been a long time. Let's see here. Let's see what the comments are saying. I know you guys are talking about the game. Everyone's saying it feeling 8-4 still. That's kind of the prediction for Florida season. Where are your 2 losses? Obviously, Georgia would be one, and then maybe look, I think LSU could be more of a loss than a Texas A&M at this point. But look, I think
they look strong, man.
Look, Florida has a chance to be for this season still to be exciting, and that's where I think we can't just quit on it just yet. With Texas A&M, LSU, Georgia, those are going to be hell of a football games. I mean, the rest of the schedule is booked with ranked teams. And Mizzou now is going to be a great game. So we got Mizzou, LSU, then a bye, then Georgia, and then Texas A&M. I mean, it's going to be
the Texas A&M game all of a sudden became very, very winnable. Even being at Texas A&M,
and it became very important. It's become more of a staple, I think, for Billy's first season of look, that's the game now you need to go win. LSU and Texas A&M, I think we've shown that. Look, I think we can beat those guys. I think we can hold on to that. I really do, and I think that's where. It's about to get really exciting. I think football. I mean, this was a phenomenal weekend of college football, and it seems like it just. I don't know what it is. Football just seems really good right now. I love where we're at with football. It's good to see because week 1 it felt like it was the Georgia-Bama show, and now I feel like we're back to. Look, Bama looked good as always. Arkansas disappointed me. I feel like they could have got it done, but they choked. And it is what it is on that. But
Well, I mean, hey, look, just from the slate of games, we had BYU, Utah State, we had UCLA in Washington, Georgia, obviously Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Iowa had a little bit of a slugfest. Clemson, that was Clemson, NC State. Those were two top 10 teams. This was one hell of a weekend of
Hell of a week.
football. Ole Miss, Kentucky.
I love that Ole Miss took down
State.
Kentucky. I love it.
Oklahoma State 9, Baylor 16. I mean, there were some really, really good games.
Oklahoma State got it done. They looked good against Baylor. It was a fun football weekend, like I said, and it's only going to get more exciting. Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State. That's going to be a hell of a show coming down to the end. I mean, I think we've got a great year ahead of us, boys and girls. And let's do that now. Let's break down the AP poll here. Let's go over it. So Bama jumps Georgia, which I think is so dumb. How a team pulls out a tough victory because you expect them to blow out Mizzou, and Bama rolls Arkansas, and it's not really a roll. They scored those points at the end there. I mean, Bama was a snap or two away from blowing that game, and they kind of scored late there that made the score look more of a detrimental than what it actually was. But
right. Yeah,
for you to
run.
Yeah, I think. I mean, obviously, it's all, and that's why I hate about the rankings, because it's like, how do you move a team when they win? How do you drop them down because it wasn't impressive enough to you, because they didn't, like I said, they didn't steamroll them? I'm impressed with the fact that, look, you're down 16-6 and you're able to get your head out of your ass and come back at an away stadium. It's an SEC school. It was like you're playing Sanford, right? Or it was against Eastern Washington, and you kind of felt, that was more of like an embarrassing thing. Like, Mizzou's an SEC school. Like, they're no joke. And they've had a great, pretty decent year from Mizzou.
Mizzou's kind of an SEC school, though. Let's be honest. I mean, they were adopted from the Big 12. They're just, I don't even know why. Of all of honestly, think just to put it out there, when the SEC decided to expand, they took Mizzou. What, isn't that a strange addition? If you look at the footprint of the SEC, it just
Texas A&M
feels
too.
like a. Yeah, well, Texas A&M makes sense. You want the Texas footprint, and Texas A&M already made a ton.
Well, I think
of
it was like they had to add another one. Who do you add?
Right.
I mean,
like Mizzou just feels weird. I don't know. Maybe they have that old school like Arkansas feel to it, But but Mizzou saying that Mizzou is an SEC school, to me, I don't know.
What I mean by that is it's a D1 school. I mean, like I said, it's still it's a respectable school, and it's in conference game. So you have to expect it to be a good game. It matters. It has some pulse to it. And look, if you're Mizzou, that's the game that you circle. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like, hey, we can catch these guys on their heels, and maybe it's at home and have an opportunity here. I think that's what I'm trying to get at, right? Like, to knock them back. Yeah. Bama goes into Texas and barely pulls that one out, barely squeaks that, with Texas losing their starting quarterback. And look, I think I get it. That was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and nothing changed from there. But that game at least should be a factor. It's just, look, it doesn't really matter 2 or 1. Who cares? You're just gonna piss Georgia off anyways to come out and steamroll. So now does that spot is it Bama's forever? Like, what happens if Georgia comes out next week and just steamroll Vandy? Does that go back to them now because they played a good team? I don't know. But next week's even better. We got Tennessee versus LSU at noon, right? That game's gonna be huge. Ooh. Who does Bama play?
Let's find out here.
Tennessee at LSU, Bama. Yeah, I was about to say Bama and A&M at 8 o'clock in Bama. Look, outside of what A&M does and what they have been doing, that's going to be a great game. I don't care who you are. That's the time where Jimbo saves his career at this game. He signed himself for another year or two, or he loses it here. Mizzou, Florida, that's at noon, which sucks again. That's a steamy one. How does Arkansas go from being 11th to not ranked? Well, I guess they have 2 losses.
No. They're ranked.
No, Arkansas's not ranked anymore.
Oh, they're not.
They have 2 losses. I forgot they lost. So they're playing Mississippi State, which is going to be a good game because I don't feel like Arkansas is a bad unranked team. And then Auburn and Georgia. Auburn just kind of keeps blowing it, and it looks like that Dion might be a heavy hand for that job. Have you heard that? Have you heard that in the works?
I have. Look, I mean, there's a couple of coaches that are 5 games in that are certainly on the hot seat. Satterfield out in Louisville. Obviously, Georgia Tech has their feelers out. But look, if Auburn was to make a change, like Deion's already out there, man. I don't know. Deion will be a D1 coach by
Yeah, if you're Deion, do you go to Georgia Tech or do you go to Auburn?
I don't know, man. The roots of Georgia Tech, the roots of Deion in Atlanta,
In Georgia, yeah,
in Atlanta, because he was a Brave, he was a Falcon.
Sure.
You know, he can recruit the hell out of Georgia. He can recruit the hell out of Florida. I don't know.
It's inevitable that he's going to
leave.
It's
a small school.
It's because he was able to go to a small school, which is smart, right? He goes to. It's like if you're a kid and you go to a local community college for 2 years to kind of get your feet wet, get things figured out, and then you move up to a real school, and then you're ready to go. That's what he's doing right now. And look, he's at a point where it's like I've done what I could do here. I've pulled in some talent. I'm winning just dominantly. I need more of a challenge. Is Georgia Tech the answer? Right? Do you go to Georgia Tech, or do you hey, I'm ready for the big, to be an SEC head coach? I mean, you want to talk about big time, prime time. I mean, if he can put Auburn on the map and make him like a Jackson State, look, Travis Hunter, the boys are going to follow him, and if he's recruiting at Jackson State, imagine what he can do at Auburn. I love this. I as a football fan, I mean it. I need somebody to give Saban some sweat and butter, some bread and butter, because he was kind of part of that shit talk too with the whole Jimbo and kind of getting called out for recruiting guys. So I would love for him to be involved with that. Him going to Georgia Tech, I mean, it would be exciting and fun, and it'd be good for the ACC. But I feel like you're just going to a school. It's not that much of an upgrade. And I'm not trying to shit on Georgia.
It's a baby step. No,
it's a very yeah, and that's not a shot at Georgia Tech. You're going to go to Georgia Tech. You're never going to lose that job. You get him 6-7 wins. You're a hero, right? So I think him going to Michael Horn just become a member. Welcome to the family, my man. Thank you for earning your wings. Oh yeah. So I think I would love to see old D to Auburn. It's definitely in the works. It's definitely something that people are talking about. And look, I think Auburn's been playing pretty well, given the fact that their coach has been on the hot seat all year long. I know they've lost some close games, but what was the expectation for Auburn this year? I mean, you got LSU up against the ropes. You kind of blow it at the end. It's just this calling for heads. It's getting. It's like a fast.
It's so fast. It's so fast.
I don't know if it's a trend now where it's just like you want
gratification.
Yeah, we can't things take time to develop. Like nobody's gonna come in right away and just make things work. The guys that are great now that have been doing it for a while. The only school that I really seen to do a good job, kind of rotate head coaches and not really lose their pulse, is Ohio State. And I've spoke to that of the fact of how Ohio State. I mean, they're a top recruiting class every year because it's just an incredible campus to play for. It's Ohio State. It's like Notre Dame. Like it's the brand. It's like USC, right? It's a brand. Now USC has been bad, not lack of talent. I think that is just poor coaching. But I know it looks like Daniel is using his 3-month anniversary to say something. Oh, you just became a member. Oh, Daniel Rivera is back becoming a member again. Welcome back to the family.
Back at it again.
back at it again. But yeah, so it was an exciting week of football. I'm excited for this coming week, and there's no gimme games this year for Florida. The rest of the year, it's going to be fighting tooth or nail for Florida. FSU too. I mean, it's football season's here now. The weeks of the basic games are out of the way. Week in and week out, it's going to be a nail biter, and I love it.
Yeah, let's break down the top 25. They just released it here just a little bit ago. We won't dive too much into the details, but let's talk about where folks are at. So we've got number 1 Bama, obviously jumped Georgia. Okay. Number 2. Ohio State and Michigan are number 3 and number 4 respectively. That is leading up to a amazing rivalry game that we all love to watch. It's always a noon game. It's the last game of the year for both of these teams. Ohio State,
always
Michigan,
snowing.
One of my favorite games to watch ever.
It's football.
It is. It's what football feels like. Maybe Bo Schembechler, you got Woody Hayes, like back in the day, like it just felt like hard nosed. Like it's like Keith Jackson. As soon as you hear his name, like it just feels and sounds like football. We got Clemson at number 5. I don't hate that. USC is up to number 6. Oklahoma State at 7. Tennessee at 8, which I feel like is modest.
Hey, so remember that? Remember the guy came in and donated, and he said they were going to jump. I think they moved down. Weren't they 7 last week? Or I could be wrong. They either didn't move or they moved down.
They may have moved down because I think Oklahoma State jumped them after their win.
A good big win against
last week. Who did they have? Okay, it was 2 ranked teams: Oklahoma State and Baylor.
Yeah,
Baylor.
Yeah.
Okay,
so Tennessee's 8, then Ole Miss is 9. If it's me, I'd be putting Ole Miss in front of Tennessee, but that's fine.
At this point, it's child's play.
Yeah.
We have Penn State at 10. Utah. Does anybody remember a Utah game?
Utah's just staying right there, boys. I mean, it's crazy. Like, look, they lost the right time. Nobody's gonna remember that loss. They're not.
Nope.
So
no, not at all. They're 11. Oregon has gone through a little bit of a gambit themselves with the BYU game and a Georgia game. Another game that nobody is going to remember because they're playing good football now.
They're ranked 11th?
Let's not lose the fact that they got their doors blown off and they got the wings blown off of them.
So Bo Nix is back.
Georgia. Yeah. And so they're at 12. Kentucky at 13. I don't hate that. That was one heck of a football game between them and Ole Miss. NC State at 14, Wake Forest at 15. I don't dislike that.
I think Wake Forest should be over. I think Wake Forest should be over NC State, but I mean we're pulling hairs again.
Yeah, at this point, I mean once you're in the top 15, I think it's a little bit of a who's. Yep. BYU 16. They've also played one hell of a schedule. TCU, great job TCU this week. UCLA.
TCU and Kansas. What's Kansas ranked?
Kansas is 19th. They were next on my list.
Okay. They play this week.
Look, keep in mind, Kansas was a team that not long ago with Mangino went 0 for 15, 0 for 14. And then they took Les Miles on. And, that was kind of a hit or miss situation. But look, Kansas, I want to say they're 5-0. But then they have
Kansas is undefeated. Yeah, they're undefeated.
Yeah, Kansas State. My gosh, what is going on?
That state's on a roll. That state's hot right now.
They are. It really is. Washington with an amazing win this week. Oh no, they lost to UCLA. They lost to UCLA. Syracuse. Freaking Syracuse is undefeated. Undefeated Syracuse. They have not played the toughest schedule, but everybody take a second to step back and think about the fact that Syracuse is undefeated. Well done out there. And we've talked about their coach being on the hot seat. And he has come out and very quickly said that seat is cold. We have Mississippi State at 23, Cincinnati at 24. I have no idea what goes on in Cincinnati anymore. I only cared when they were in the top 5.
Yeah, that's just a gimme.
And then LSU, the team that everybody wrote off after week 1, the team that everybody said, this is a disaster. Their players are leaving. The coach has no idea what he's doing. LSU is at 25.
I love it. I think it's one of the most exciting top 25s we've had in a long time. And Muddy just said college game days, they're going to Kansas this week. And it's the first time since 2009 that they've had a winning record. I think it's exciting for football. I think TCU is going to roll Kansas. I'm pretty sure I picked TCU over Oklahoma, by the way. Oklahoma was always were they in the top? They're gone. They're donezo.
Oh yeah, OU was out.
You said UCLA. I got UCLA. They're 18th, right? You said them. I think I talked over you when you said that.
Yes, UCLA is
that USC and 18, UCLA 18. Game is going to be a spicy one now too. That one's got some flavor to it now.
That's one of my favorite games, also because it's both teams wear their colors. Like no team goes in wearing white. There's always that road white. That you wear. Neither team.
They wear their blue and they wear their red.
They did that because a long time ago in black and white TV. It made it easy for one team to wear white.
You know what I noticed? I noticed this yesterday. So Arkansas and Bama, basically the same color scheme. Like it's awful to watch, right? Arizona State, Arizona State, USC, same color scheme. Look, guys, like let's work this out here. Like, what are we doing? I get the colors kind of fit that type of like that area, but I'm like, why do we have two schools that look exactly like playing each other when we could just swap them? You know what I mean? Like, obviously it wouldn't work now, but I'm watching this. I'm like, this is impossible to watch. I hate this. It's just,
FSU Boston College.
Yes.
I hate that game every year. It's like, what are we doing here?
Brutal.
It's
brutal.
It's difficult. It's difficult. That's one of the reasons why FSU wore all garnet against Boston College. They try to do.
Yeah, you got to spice it up. You have to.
Yeah. Well, because they're almost identical. But hey, look, this is one of the most well balanced, exciting top 25s I've seen in a while. No team, honestly, to me right now is number one. I've got 4 number one teams, maybe 5 if you want to sprinkle Clemson in there. I got
no, Clemson is not in that argument. I would put Oklahoma State over that.
But Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Michigan, all of them, I'd give a 1.
So like, So if you're doing a tier, so tier 1, you're putting those 4 in the tier 1.
Yes,
sure. In my tier 1, I've got Ohio State, Bama, and Georgia. That's it.
Not Michigan.
No, they're my tier 2. Not
Michigan
bought in.
Beat Ohio State last year.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not bought in. Tier 2, I've got Michigan, Oklahoma State. Isn't that there? That's more of like a love pick. Hold on? What else? What are the rankings? Who's 6th?
So we have Clemson. So we have the top 4. We have Clemson at 5, USC at 6, Oklahoma State at 7, and Tennessee at 8. Just to kind of group things together.
See, so tier 2, man. Tier 2, 3 kind of starts getting down because I don't even put USC in the tier 2. I know they're up there, but USC they've kind of disappointed me the last few weeks. I put USC in tier 3. Honestly, I got Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Oklahoma State and Michigan in tier 2. Could be a little bit of a stretch, but those to me and I'll put Clemson in there. I cannot not put Clemson in tier 2. So I'll put Clemson in there. Then you got tier 3 would be like your Kentuckys, USCs, the Utah. Utah could even be an argument for a tier 2. What?
What about Penn State? I mean,
Penn State's a tier 3. Penn State's tier 3. They haven't impressed me enough to be into tier 2 yet.
Okay. We'll ask the cast here, guys. So give us 4 teams right now that are what you would consider tier 1. Don't look at the
not 4
the
teams.
rankings.
Just say who you. I mean, so But I mean, what if you don't have enough? You know what I mean? Like Scott just said, tier 1, Bama, Georgia, and Ohio State.
That works. Works.
So who do you think's in tier? Who's your tier 1 and tier 2? It doesn't have to be a number because if you only have one. I mean, look, you could put just Bama and Georgia in a tier 1. I don't. Clemson's not a tier 1. I think Wake Forest is
I agree.
Tier 3. I think Wake Forest is underrated. NC State's tier 4. Right? Like the rankings to me are a little bit off on the tiers on how I think a team is actually playing. So let's see what they say.
What about Oregon? So that's a team that's played a difficult schedule.
Yeah.
They've won some games. They've lost badly in some games. Are they? I know they're going to be in your tier 1. Are they tier 2?
They're 3. They're a high 4, low 3. High 4, low 3. Yeah,
I think that should be something we do
weekly
on Wednesday. Yeah, we'll
put a chart together.
Yeah, we'll put it out there. We'll let the cast tell us who they think should be 1, 2, 3. But then instead of just doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think that's arbitrary, and we already have that. Maybe we just do tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4, maybe even tier 5, and we can take the top 25, and then we have at least 5 segments for 25 teams. I think that the balance goes well.
I like it. Muddy says tier 1 is Georgia, Bama, OSU, and Kansas. Sure. Oh, look, TCU and Kansas. I mean, they're not. Look, they're going to sleep. That tier 3 is going to be thick. There's a lot of tier 3 teams out there that are probably lower ranked than maybe like Kentucky. Kentucky's definitely tier 3. Oregon's close. Oregon's tier 3 in my opinion as well too. Penn State's a tier 3, and I know they're undefeated. That tier 3 gets kind of washy.
Yeah, it gets dicey, right? Yeah.
T just says Michigan, Ohio, Bama. Doesn't have Georgia in there, and then Georgia probably. I'm assuming he's thinking tier 1. So we'll see. We'll Weapon X is I'm behind the stream. I went back to the beginning, so obviously they're not going to have an opinion on that. But yeah, we'll have that prepared for Wednesday. Obviously, we'll have the Mizzou versus Florida game, which is going to be another noon game. I feel like we're on two extreme spectrums here. We go all 3 7:00 games to a 3:30 game, the sweet spot, to two noon games. Like this is exhausting as a Florida fan. Like it's just
TJ Lift, who kind of roasted the chat about a week or so ago.
Has Tennessee in tier 2.
He has Tennessee tier 2. We appreciate the honesty, man. Like that's kind of what we want here. Like we could all like just put our team in whatever tier.
I think after
let's just be honest here.
Yeah, Tennessee. Look, you have to put Tennessee in tier 2 right now. They're a low tier 2 to me, a high tier 3. The LSU game will solidify the tier 2 in my opinion. It really will. They come out and roll like they should, like they're expected to. I think Tennessee will roll. And especially they had a bye week this week. That's going to be huge for them to have a bye week. They had 2 weeks to rest up. Penn State's a low tier 2. Yeah, Penn State's weird for me. I agree. They're on the cusp. Honestly, if we create the little chart, I would have put them in the middle line. Right? Like I would have put them on the line. We'll put it together. I think that'll be fun. That'll be a good little post. I'll work on it later this evening. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for stopping by today on the Sunday show. Great. It was weird having Florida on Sunday, but I kind of enjoyed it. I was able just to really focus on that, especially with how great of a weekend this was for college football. I didn't have to worry about watching Florida. I got to watch everybody else.
No other games, right? No other games. It's beautiful when you have that. FSU was the only game on Friday against Louisville. It was amazing to just not even have to even think about changing the channel during commercials. That had to be fun.
It was good. I mean, obviously it got in the way of NFL, but I was like, I don't really care. I prefer this anyways. My fantasy football team sucks as usual. I hate fantasy football in the NFL anyway, so suck it. But ladies and gentlemen, be here on Wednesday where we go live every Wednesday at 8:35. Keep your eyes peeled too. We're gonna be dropping the video with us and Clifford Taylor, the golfing video. We would have been out sooner, but my dumbass deleted it. Yeah, I deleted it, so I had to restart. But yeah, so thank you guys for stopping by. Make sure you guys drop a like if you guys are here right now and subscribe. Thank you to those who became a member and donated today. Much appreciated as always. If you guys want some high top merch, check the link in the description. But until then, I am Sheldon.
And I'm Holly.
Boogity, boys. See you guys.
I'm a human being.